apology for the wait for new content. To be honest, the last few weeks have been crazy, with wedding bookings peaking, and now we're also in the middle of a house move. However, I bring good news because things are settling down and I now have more time for the channel. So I'm going to make plans to create lots of vlogs from our upcoming 24-day trip to Kruger Park in South Africa, and those plans start today with the arrival of my brand new Canon R3 camera, which I'm about to unbox right now. But first, a huge thank you to all those who have subscribed to my channel. This week saw the channel hit 1,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you enough. Your support is the fuel that encourages me to produce more content. And I can tell you there's lots more to come, with a mix of tutorials and travel vlogs planned in the near future. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss out on future posts. So here we go. This is my brand new Canon R3 Mirrorless Camera, ideal for great photography and with outstanding video quality. It really is a game changer. So let's see what's in the box. So you'll have to forgive me, I've never done an unboxing before, so my technique may not be great, but we'll get through it one way or the other. So here we have the contents of the box, packed up nicely as usual by Canon. Got the usual camera strap there, the wires there, the power wires there for the charging unit, a manual to show you how to do it. That will go into the cupboard until such time if something happens and I don't know how to fix, and I might then have a look if I can't find it on YouTube. You can find everything on YouTube if you look close enough. You've got the viewfinder eyepiece, and here's the camera itself, nicely packaged up. Incidentally, I always keep the boxes forever until I want to pass it on, sell it, whatever. I've just traded in my 1DX Mark III for this particular camera, and it added a lot to the value. I had all the original equipment. I had every wire, every piece of equipment that came in the original box, and the box in great condition. So that means that they can then pass it on, sell it on for a little bit more. And my friends at Wex Photographic in Newcastle, a big shout out to Andy, who sorted all this transfer out for me. He actually took the other camera in and sorted this one out for me. One mega problem, one mega disappointment, and one disaster in a way, is that this camera mount here, this camera mount does not work with any of my equipment here. These are all ear fittings, and this is an RF mount fitting, so it only fits directly onto the brand new RF equipment. There is, however, mount adapter, and I tried to initially find an adapter online. They're about £75, just a simple adapter that then allows you to put this equipment onto this camera, and disaster, there isn't any to be had. There is, in fact, an RF adapter that you can buy from Canon. So that's called a Canon control ring adapter. So it's not just a ring adapter, it actually has a control on it. And that is a little turning circle, and that you can assign a function from the camera. First, I thought that's a bit of a waste of money because, you know, you've got all these buttons on the back of the camera, and all of these, you can assign something to almost every one of these buttons in the menu there, which I'll do that because what I'll do is I'll actually assign my back button focus to some of these buttons at the back, and one or two of the functions that I use a lot, I'll assign to the buttons there. And you can find out how to do that all over the internet. I do one myself actually for the 1D Mark III. Very similar to this as well, although the menus are slightly different. However, its mount, when you put it on, has a turning ring, and that ring can be assigned one of the functions. and I've found out that you can in fact assign the ISO to that. Because the ISO is a little more difficult to change instantly on the camera, it would be very useful to have something where I could just turn a ring and either move the ISO up or down to my choosing. Now that may be worth the extra cost. Now the original adapter, £75, not available anywhere in the UK at the moment. So I've had to invest in the Canon one, which is £240. It's a stinging addition to my collection, but I cannot even imagine what it's going to be like for the next few days, where I have this in my hand, I've got these here, and I can't put them together. And I'm depending on the postal service. Wex have helped me out a wee bit with the cost, thank you, Andy. And now I'm in the hands of the post office, or the parcel force or whatever, to see when this arrives. I can't actually use it. What I can do in the next day or two, of course, is familiarise myself with all the controls, go onto YouTube, follow some of the tutorials on there, keep that in my hand. I recommend this to anyone who gets a new camera. Sit with the camera in your hand, put the tutorial on, and then just mess with the controls and learn how to do the various menus and controls. It'll save you a lot of time if you just want to try and kind of start. This is impossible just to start out and just fiddle with. You need to know what you're doing. It's a professional camera anyway. But I love this camera from the examples I've seen. I tried it out in the workshop. They gave me one to try for a while, and I was so extremely impressed at the quality of the photography, but especially the video, because I've got a trip to Africa coming up, like a 24-day trip to Kruger Park. And I've been there 10 years in a row now, and I've always photographed there, and I had some great photos, as you can see now. I'll put some up for you to have a look at. But what we're intending to do this time is I want to go there and do a vlog. My intention, if I can do it, is to do a daily vlog from there, where I can put up where we've been day by day, what we've seen, and what I've used, what settings I've used to get my shots, just to demonstrate the camps and the facilities in the camps, so anyone going to Kruger Park has a really good idea what they're going to find when they get there. I'll give you some tips on how to use your camera, what settings to use, and perhaps, with a bit of luck, a few areas where you're more likely to see wildlife than not. Okay, so as you can see, it's all ready to learn, to use. I love the idea of this, especially if I'm going to be videoing. Very hard when you're videoing out of the car and the camera's down here on a beanbag. I can't get my eye down to the viewfinder when it's down here, so to be able to flip this out and just turn it, and I can see where I'm videoing. Now this is going to be really useful, because I do intend to use the 500mm with this, which makes it really tricky to actually hold without shutter. However, this little beauty, 8 stops, up to 8 stops I should say, image stabilization, and that should really stop any major amount of movement, especially on the big lens here, because remember, a ½ an inch on this end is a couple of feet down the line where it's actually focusing on. So the slightest little movement can seem much bigger at the other end. This one, with up to 8 stops, should remove that entirely. And remember, my 1DX has no image stabilization, so it would be completely unsuitable for videography in the Kruger. So I'm going to learn how to use all the features on here. I'll come back and maybe do a more detailed video on that in future. So that's what we have there. It's also how to get all that back together again afterwards. But what you have in here is we have the charge unit, good for 2 batteries, which is useful. Now the one great thing about this camera is last Canon have decided to give us a camera that will actually use the same batteries that we had in the last one. Now these batteries here are about £180 a pop. That's a spare one I had from my 1DX. And of course you do get one with the new camera. So I'm going to have 2 batteries to use. And that's going to be really useful, because the 1DX would get me over 2,000 photographs. because of all the electronics and the continual focusing and balancing that this does, you'll only get about, for one charge, you'll only get about 600 or 700 photographs. So you really do need, if you're going for a long day, you need to have an additional battery. Okay? And then we've got some more cables, transfer cables, and the remainder of the cable for the charge unit. Okay, so everything's here and ready to use. What I'm going to do this afternoon is I'm going to take the camera, I'm going to sit in front of the TV, I'm going to put YouTube channel there. So I've got some lovely friends there who've already done the hard work and read this thing already and actually have then put it into plain English so that I can sit with the camera and I can familiarise myself. There's lots and lots to learn, the focus points, how to adjust the shutter speed and the ISO, and how to set the buttons up, and all the other things that you need to know and know well if you're going to go to do wildlife photography. You haven't got time with wildlife to mess around changing settings. You need everything at your fingertips, and that will give you a great opportunity to get great shots. And that's what we're all here for. I'm super excited at the thought of the vlog. I've done Kruger so many times. I've got so many great pictures from there. Now I want to share the experience in real time with my friends to show them my experience in Kruger, and also to offset to them information that should they choose to go to there or anywhere else. It's good for any wildlife photography that you do. You're going to have some interesting information that they can use to make it a better experience, to get better results. So I'm going to wait until this rain comes tomorrow, please, so I can get this in my hands and start photographing. I will do another video when the rain comes and I start to photograph. I'll tell you just how good this is. I'm not going to say I'm expecting it to be good. I've already tried it in the shop and seen loads and loads of tutorials and videos. This is one stunning bit of kit. It's interesting to say, by the way, that they're calling it a flagship. There is going to be an R1, which will be a true flagship. That's a true replacement for the 1DX. Although I'm not quite sure how they could improve on this, to be perfectly honest, at the end of the day. The only thing this negative on this is that, opposed to other type of mirrorless cameras, the best you're going to get is around 30 frames per second when you use an electronic shutter, and 12 frames per second when you use mechanical shutter. That's an off-put to some people. I believe the new R1 is in fact going to address that, and there will be a higher shutter speed. And also the other thing is the resolution on some competitive models can be up to 60 meg. This one is 24. However, it was only 21 on my 1DX Mark III. To be honest, I was super happy with them. And to be honest, the software that you get nowadays for kind of sharpening up and you know, the ability to zoom in and crop in and sharpen up, it negates the need. And the other thing I don't want huge files on my camera. If I'm going to take 2,000 or 3,000 photos a day, I don't want 60 meg per picture at the end of the day. That is going to be a huge responsibility, especially when I can't actually download it at home to my large servers here. I'm going to have a massive amount of data there that I'm going to have to transport home somehow and wade through, and that's not something I'm going to be interested in. So for me, this is going to be all I'm going to need, and I'm hoping, you know, it's lighter, it's comfortable in the hand, and anything that's lighter to put with this beast is going to be of advantage to me. So I'm going to try it in the next few days, and I'll get back to you and tell you what happens when I actually get that onto that. See you next time on the Better Photography channel.